Kia ora katoa, ko Brent toko ingoa. My name's Brent. I'm the CEO of NetSafe, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Net Safety Week Day 4. And this day is about celebrating our seniors in our neuro and linguistically diverse communities. And hopefully some of you have checked out some of our previous webinars. And this is our last one for the day. Exciting. Aotearoa initiative supporting diverse learners. Aotearoa is New Zealand's National Centre for Tertiary Teaching Excellence, and it offers a wide range of professional learning and development opportunities. In this presentation, it's my pleasure to welcome a panel. And so we have 3 presenters. We've got Graeme, Mike, and Annette, and they're going to give us a whirlwind tour, just a little bit of a taster of some of the initiatives designed to sort of build capability in creating more inclusive learning and teaching environments, where we want to build strengths in our diverse needs and making sure that everyone is included in the learning environment. We're going to hear a little bit about Neurodiversity Community of Practice. Luckily, they've put the title on the front of the slide, so I'm not going to read it out. Just a quick intro for our hosts. Graeme's lived in Manawatu all his life. He's been active in the tertiary education sector. He's been teaching literacy, numeracy, learning technologies. And in 2016, he received his master's degree in adult literacy and numeracy from AUT. Mike is dyslexia consultant and researcher, currently contracting to Aotearoa to implement the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark. And he's led several research projects. And Annette has a background in working with high needs learners. She was a teaching fellow at the University of Waikato, where she lectured and tutored in adult literacy. She was the manager of the National Centre of Literacy in Adults and now works for Aotearoa. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all. And I'm going to bow out, and that's me. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Ka pai, Brent. Thank you very much for the introduction. As Brent said, we're from Aotearoa. Hold on a sec. So I'll start with a quick short pepeha. Ko Graeme Reader Ho, te kai whakahaere rā tonga mātaranga o Te Rohi o Wainanui o Aotearoa. I'm the Sector Services Manager for the Central Hub for Aotearoa. So my role is very much stakeholder facing, dealing with organisations, tertiary organisations and so forth. And I'm based in Palmerston North, the sunshine capital of New Zealand. So I'll just do a quick karakia, and a karakia, in my understanding, is to open a space and provide focus for those participating, as well as making it a safe space and providing positive outcomes. So, e te hui, whaia te mātauranga kia marama, kia whae taki nā mahi katoa, tu maia, tu kaha, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa. Nau mai, haere mai, and thanks for attending.
Alamini.
So it's just, as Brent pointed out, it is a bit of a whirlwind tour, and the other presenters will introduce themselves for their part. Please do put your questions in the chat if you have any. We like to answer them as you go along. So if we can, we will. So we're just going to talk about who we are and what we do, the NDCOP, the DFQM, and digital literacy, and some questions partai at the end. So we were established in 2007 and we're TEC funded. We're hosted by Massey University because we're not a legal entity, so we need to be hosted by a learning institution, and Massey University do that well, I think. There's a bit of a blurb about what we do, but I suppose you could, in a nutshell, we're tasked with building educator capability in the tertiary sector, so all things that lead towards that. You may know what a community of practice is, and I presume you do, so I've just put a generic definition up there. It's an organised group of professional people who share the same interests in resolving an issue, improving skills, and learning from each other's experiences. And we host two communities of practice. We've got this Neurodiversity Community of Practice that I'm going to talk about, and a Manako community of practice around LLN and cultural capability. And our Manako team is tasked with improving adult literacy and numeracy and cultural capability within the tertiary sector, and Annette leads that team. We also support a language literacy and numeracy professionals community of practice, which is really aimed at educators and support in the tertiary sector that directly are involved with language literacy and numeracy education, whether it's supporting the students or supporting the teachers or what have you. Okay. Our Neurodiversity Community of Practice came about because we kept hearing the same things over and over from educators. They want to learn more about neurodiversity. They want to connect with others that have an interest and expertise in the field. And we've certainly included in our Zoom hui and communications, there's a ton of expertise within our community, and it's growing day by day. Actually, we actually have a bit of an international presence with educators from the UK. I think there's some from Malaysia, the US, Canada, and Australia. So we're world famous in New Zealand as well as overseas. So they wanted more kōrero around initiatives and issues relating to improving teaching practices, as well as the support for learners with neurodiverse conditions. That would also go for supporting educators in the field as well, those with neurodiverse conditions and those that support other educators. And there's a lot of myths around, and some of them, I mean, I believe some of them before I became part of this community, to be fair. I don't have a background in neurodiversity. I'm just someone with an interest and the means to help change attitudes and dispel those myths and focus on the positives that come with neurodiversity, because they often come with superpowers. As Mike will tell you about in the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark, some of the superpowers that dyslexic people have. But there is a stigma often attached with it. So we're trying to change that. And we wanted to provide a safe space to kōrero and share. And I think that's very paramount, because with the nature of social media and people's biases, whether they're unconscious or not, there is a stigma around it, and a lot of people feel shame, and that's just not something we want to continue. We're all, if we weren't a diverse species, we wouldn't continue to be a species. So we need to embrace everything. And unfortunately, neurodiverse learners fall outside of the norm and the standard educational practices. So we're trying to change that. Just a little quick blurb about it. It's free to join and it's open to anybody, regardless whether you're in education or not, whether you're neurodiverse or whether you support someone or just have an interest and want to learn more. So everybody is welcome, basically. And we meet 4 or 5 times a year via Zoom hui. The next one will be in early September. We have a close Facebook group to support the ND COP, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. And members are welcome to post anything, articles, resources, and questions, events, anything they like. So it's all about the community and what the community wants. But it's a closed Facebook group which helps address the trolls and sea lions and so forth that you often find on social media. Just for the record, I'm not a social media person, but I've found Facebook has been really helpful to spread and disseminate information. Okay, so far we've caught it all around a ton of things. This is just the last year in our meetings. As you can see, I won't read them out, but as you can see, some of the areas can be quite sensitive bring up issues and trauma for some members, because a lot of people have faced bullying, adversity, stigmatism, you know, the list goes on from being neurodivergent. So we need to change all that. As far as online safety concerns go, we wanted to provide a safe space, and we often take this for granted, but it can be difficult for neurodivergent people to share their experience. So reinforcing that this is a safe space is important, hence the closed Facebook group and the Zoom hui. These sensitive narratives, most of our hui include a presentation around the journey someone who is neurodivergent has been on. We sort of counter it. We often look at the science side of a neurodiverse condition, and then we look at a personal experience of being either working with a neurodivergent or neurodiverse people, or the person themselves may be neurodivergent. And it's surprising actually how many people find out at a late age that they have a neurodiverse condition, such as dyslexia or ADHD. And they may, you know, I'm in my 50s and they may be my age, and they're just finding out now that they're actually neurodiverse, which helps them make sense of why they think the way they do. And people are not stupid, they just think in different ways. So, and everybody brings something to the party. So the sensitive narratives, there's often tears, and that's not just from the presenters, there's from the participants. Some of the stories are very moving, and they're all too familiar to many people, and they do bring up emotions. But again, the safe space is the place to do it. Recording the Zoom hui, that's probably the most common request I get from members. They all want the one, especially when they can't make it, they all want to record it, but we decided not to due to the emotional and sensitive sharing of the personal circumstances that comes out. It absolutely, and I'm reiterating this, it needs to be a safe space, and many people haven't had that safe space to talk about themselves and their experience. I see there's a question in the chat.
I'm just responding to it, Graeme.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry. I'm a bloke, so as soon as you throw something at me, I'm distracted. We use a closed Facebook group. So far, it's been quite safe. We haven't had any arguments or, you know, bullying or anything on there. It's not all educators, it's for everyone from all walks of life. We even have kids that have joined the group and you know, wanting to know more. We reiterate again that it's got to be a safe space. We do have room for improvement, and actually prepping for this conference made me consider a couple of things. I don't often reiterate that it is a safe space and that what goes on tour stays on tour, but I do need to do that. So it's a realization for me. And we probably should include a Facebook blurb about social media concerns, the group rules, not that we have many, but you hear about hacking and trolling and sea lining, etc. So maybe we might look at another platform. We'll put it to the group. Everything's decided by the group. So, and it hasn't happened yet. So yeah, we're lucky in that respect. As I said, it is a whirlwind tour, and that's pretty much it from me. Was there any questions or anything like that that people want to bring up, or you've addressed them well, have you, Annette? Is there anything with...
I hope so.
Okay, no. Okay, well, that's it from me, and I'll hand you over to Mike Stiles to talk about the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark. Over to you, Mike.
Cheers. Cheers, Graeme. Thank you very much. So it's appropriate that we get to talk about the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark on a net safe webinar. Being safe online means a lot of different things to different people. To some people, it means issues around hacking, cyberbullying, sharing or not sharing sensitive information, privacy issues, etc. For another group of people, however, it means, how do I engage with a medium that requires that I have to read a lot? And sometimes I may have to write or spell things as well, keeping in mind that these people have struggled with that sort of environment for a long, long time. I found, for example, it was quite difficult, and I'm moderately literate, I found it quite difficult to access this webinar today. It was quite challenging, and I suspect somebody who was very dyslexic would find that even more difficult. So that leads me to the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark. One of the primary goals of the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark is that it helps the people inside particular organisations feel safe. It was primarily designed for an tertiary education environment, because we know that many people don't even contemplate tertiary education because their experiences at primary and secondary school were so unhelpful and unsatisfactory that they don't feel safe and they don't feel confident in a learning environment. And so we set about doing something about that. The Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark was unashamedly stolen from the UK, but we brought it back to New Zealand and we personalised it and customised it to an Aotearoa New Zealand context. Now, it's primarily designed for tertiary education institutions, but the principles and the standards that apply to the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark do have relevance and could be applied to other organisations beyond education. And we've already had interest shown by some corporates, some secondary schools, and government agencies as well. So what is the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark? Well, if an organisation has the quality mark, and if you look at the top left-hand corner, you'll see what the quality mark looks like. It's an evidence that that organisation follows best practice in meeting the needs of dyslexic learners. So the initiative has been funded by the Tertiary Education Commission and contracted to Aotearoa to develop it and implement it. And in order to achieve the quality mark, organisations need to meet some standards that measure their practice in 4 key areas. Now, the standards are, thanks, Graeme, if you could just advance that. The standards are rigorous, they are comprehensive, and they are holistic, and they impact literally every part of an organisation. So it impacts on leadership and management. There are things for the board to do, if there is a board. There are things for senior management to do. There are things for frontline practitioners, be they educators or people who engage with the public, for them to do. There is standards that prescribe the learning environment, not only what educators do, but what the environment looks like. For example, things like the website. Is the website accessible to people with neurodiverse conditions? That's really, really important thing. It also looks at the way the organisation manages its relationship with internal and external stakeholders. So the process involves self-assessing the organisation against the standards, and then deciding where the gaps are, and then developing an action plan to meet those standards. And finally, I'm preparing a portfolio of evidence that demonstrates that you have met the standards. And finally, there is what we call a verification visit, where one or two people from ACO or a contractor like myself will come and visit the organisation, and the organisation has got a chance to show off its best practice in this area. Thank you, Graeme. Are there any more slides for me? I don't know. Oh, yes. So just before we move on, Graeme mentioned the positive side of dyslexia. And one of the most exciting things I think about the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark is that it makes dyslexia visible as opposed to invisible. And it encourages people with dyslexia to come out of the closet, as it were. And many of those people, of course, have latent, hidden, positive characteristics that they have hidden for many years. And so this gives an opportunity for those people to demonstrate the positive features of dyslexia. I mean, there is a reason why Richard Branson is a very successful billionaire. He has dyslexia. And that's true of Bill Gates and Steven Spielberg and Steve Jobs and countless other people around the world who are people with dyslexia, but have used the differences that dyslexia brings to make their way in the world. Now, if any of you have got questions or comments about the Dyslexia-Friendly mark, or indeed dyslexia generally, I would be pleased to hear them. I see that one point on the chat function mentioned the fact that they had a parent who identified their dyslexia back in the 70s, and that's an amazing thing. I have to say that you are one of the very lucky people. The great majority of people with dyslexia either don't know they have it or are ashamed of it. They shouldn't be, but they often are, because it has been for many people a subject of much mocking and ridicule over the time. So thank you for giving me a chance to shoot my mouth off today. I'm going to hand over to Annette now.
Kia ora, Mike. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Annette, tōku ingoa, he kaimahi ahau I ako Aotearoa, ko au te kaiwhakahaere o Manako. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Annette, and I'm the Manako Program Manager at Ako Aotearoa. So I lead our work in adult language, literacy, numeracy, and cultural capability. And Graeme and Mike have already shared with you some of our initiatives at Ako Aotearoa. And what I'm going to do next is share with you some of our upcoming mahi in digital literacy. And we all know that digital literacy these days is really a critical priority. And what we've seen in the past few years due to the pandemic is a large-scale shift to online dependence. We're doing lots of things online these days. We have to access information online and services online. And at work, we often meet by Zoom or by Teams. Conferences such as these are online. And also lots of teaching and learning has moved online as well. And that has meant that the digital divide that already existed, of course, pre-COVID, has widened, and that's of real concern. The research that's coming out these days is sounding some clear alarm bells that people who don't have the necessary digital literacy skills are finding it harder and harder to participate in everyday social and economic aspects of society. And of course, that has a huge impact on their life outcomes and on their well-being as well. So if we can move to the next slide, Graeme. Thank you. So at Aotearoa, we feel it's absolutely vital for us to build educator capability so that educators can support their learners in their digital literacy development. And when we think about digital literacy, I think it's much more than just digital skills. It's more than just being able to use digital tools or to navigate online environments. It's very much about the critical thinking skills that we all need to evaluate information and to problem solve, and also to keep safe in online environments. So at Aotearoa, we are in the process of developing 2 resources for educators, and these will be available for free as part of a new digital literacy pathway on Pathways Aotearoa. And if you're not familiar with Pathways Aotearoa, it's a free online interactive learning platform that's very popular in the tertiary education space, but it's available for everyone. Next slide, please, Graeme. And another initiative that will soon be underway is to scope the development of a digital literacy framework, where we map the range of digital literacy skills and the levels of proficiency that people can be at, where so that we can so that educators can identify the strengths of their learners in terms of digital literacy, but also their areas for improvement. So it will be a really useful tool for educators to have a digital literacy framework. So that's a work in progress. And lastly, we are also looking at doing some research with an organization that trains apprentices in the building and construction industry to find out what the barriers and challenges are for those apprentices, because we need their voice. We need to learn what it's like for them so that we can address those challenges. So that was just a very quick overview of some of the initiatives that we're planning to get underway very soon for digital literacy. So, and I know that we've only talked, the 3 of us, about 3 of the initiatives at Aotearoa. We've talked about the Neurodiversity Community of Practice and the Dyslexia-Friendly quality mark and our work in digital literacy. But at ACO, we do a whole lot more to support the sector. And just wondering if there's any questions from any of you. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. About any of our work.
Yeah. Just on that note, I'm also working with a project team. We do we commission projects and research as well, and one of the projects that is about to commence is around mitigating the barriers that neurodiverse learners face in an online tertiary education setting, particularly Te Pūkenga. So we're working with 4 different Te Pūkenga org to gauge from neurodiverse learners themselves what they see as the barriers, and some of that will be around the safety of being in an online setting. So that will be included in the project, but we also from that want to generate tools, resources and strategies, including online safety strategies that educators can use and organisations can use. But we want neurodiverse learners and neurodiverse educators to be part of those solutions as well, rather than just get the neurotypical people to address things which tends to be historical practice.
I wonder whether I might make a comment at this stage, since there's a captive audience. It seems to me that I don't want to miss an opportunity to highlight the invisible nature of dyslexia and other neurodiverse conditions in New Zealand. And sadly, the government at this stage isn't adopting much of a leadership role in this. I just really wanted to say that it is time that we made dyslexia and other neurodiverse conditions a little bit more visible, because, of course, as I mentioned before, neurodiverse people are often incredibly talented, and I don't think as a nation we can afford to leave 10% of our population languishing without them being fully productive. And obviously NetSafe and the work that you do can be part of that solution. Thank you.
I'd also say, Mike, that your 10% of the population being dyslexic is probably a conservative estimate as well,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
And if you go into corrections, they're talking of percentages of over 50.
That's right. 50% plus of prison inmates have been identified as having dyslexia. That is a horror statistic.
And they're often comorbid as well, so they may have other neurodiverse conditions.
And here is the worrying thing. Some of you may have heard of a condition, a term called NEETs, young people not in education, employment or training. I've screened groups of these and found that the same 50% of those people that are not in education, employment or training also show up as positive for dyslexia. And in a morbid moment, I often think of these people as inmates in waiting, which is a very sad thing.
There's a question that's come through in the Q&A from Karen. Do you include online safety discussions in the different projects you're involved in? And do you get feedback about particular online concerns? From my personal point of view, I've been at Aotearoa for 3 years, and a lot of this is the first project that I'm being involved in from the ground up. But we certainly are going to address a number of concerns, issues, whatever you want to call them, and the online safety will be a discussion from both the educators involved. We're getting learner voice and we're getting educator voice from the Te Pūkenga, and that will certainly be brought up in there because, as Annette pointed out, just about everything's online now. So that's my addressing that question. Do the others want to add anything?
I'll leave it to you, Annette. It's not my specialty area at all.
No, Graeme, you're absolutely right. And that's what we're hearing from this organisation too, that's going to look at do the research project with the apprentices in the building and construction industry. What they're saying is that there's real issues for those apprentices, and not just with online safety, but that's a big part of it as well. It's to do with digital access. They have a new online learning platform, and some apprentices are finding it really hard to engage with this platform. But we'll certainly look at this digital safety aspects as well as the digital access and digital inclusion. And it doesn't just involve young people either. The apprentices are of all ages, and of course digital literacy is for all ages as well. So we need to keep a broad mind and be inclusive.
Absolutely. Lance has put up another comment, and the invisible nature. I presume this is open to everyone. So I learnt to hide it, which limited me a lot. I'm now a photographer, and still few know part of this because photography does not get impacted by dyslexia. And you're lucky you've been able to head down a path that I think dyslexic people shine at, really, when it comes to imagery and, you know, the visual side of things. But that's a comment, the hiding it bit, that's a comment that comes up over and over and over, and called it all we have. And it's because of the stigmatism and the myths and the going through school feeling that you're dumb. but you have other superpowers, you know, and that's something we're trying to change, and we're slowly getting there, but it's a long and hard road, to be honest.
And it's to do with a general lack of awareness and understanding as well. And that's what we're trying to work on, to create better awareness and understanding, so that if you have dyslexia, that you don't feel the need to hide anymore, that you can be open about it and proud of it as well.
Mm.
We've got a survey on our website where we ask people to share their experiences with dyslexia, because we want to hear their voice, and we want to show educators what it's like to have dyslexia, and how difficult it can be at school and in tertiary education organizations, and how things can be changed for the better. And the stories that people are telling us are very similar, and some of them are really heartbreaking and very, very emotional and touching. And it makes you feel that there's so many, life can be a real struggle if people around you don't understand what dyslexia is and how it affects you, and how support can be put in place, because it's not that hard to put that support in place. So that's mainly the reason why we have the Dyslexia-Friendly Quality Mark, to create a much better culture within organizations, a safe place for learners with dyslexia, so that they can be open about it and come out of the closet, as Mike puts it. And not just for people with dyslexia, but all people with a neurodiversity.
Yeah. I'd just add something else. Annette talked about resources and that we have. We have a knowledge centre on our Aotearoa website, and the knowledge centre has, I think, around 1,300 different resources, articles, project findings, all sorts of things, tools and strategies and so forth. There's quite a bit around dyslexia, but those resources and everything on the Knowledge Centre site is free to download, adapt, edit, use in your teaching, share with others as you see fit. So please, if you want to check that out, there's bound to be something of interest there. I'm not sure about the online safety side of things. This is new to me, but this conference is this webinar has certainly opened up my brain to put that in the background for when I do further work. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, if there are, sorry.
It looks like there's no more questions coming through at the moment.
Okay. Well, we've put our email addresses on the slide here, so you can always get in touch with Graeme, Mike, or myself if you have any questions, or if there's anything we can help with. We're always here to help and always keen to connect with people. And if there's no more further questions, maybe I can conclude with our closing karakia. So thanks very much for joining us today, and it was lovely to be here, and really appreciate your time in joining us, and hope we can continue our korero at some point. So here's our closing karakia. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa pauna mo te moana, kia tere te karohirohi, ki mua I tō huarahi. Kia ora. Thank you, everyone.
Amane, kia ora, everybody.
Ka kite.
Thank you very much, Annette, Mike, and Graeme. Wonderful korero.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, everyone, and stay warm.